Ensign Rowe. The Enterprise is assigned a controversial new officer.
We begin with Picard getting a haircut for his non-existent hair, and Riker tells him they are picking up a distress signal from near the Cardassian border. It's about time we heard about them again. With how much the barber was critiquing Picard's decisions, I wondered if he was really a Romulan spy.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything about the Cardassians since The Wounded. They received an additional transmission from the Bajorans claiming responsibility for the destruction of a Federation outpost. The Cardassians annexed the Bajorans' planet, and the Bajorans have spent decades wandering and settling in different places.
And they say that until they have a home, no one in the area is safe. Picard talks to Admiral Kennelly about the attack, who is dealing with a virus that he says he got from a Cardassian liaison. And my immediate thought was, if that's true, I hope they really checked him out thoroughly.
He's played by Cliff Potts, who I recognized from Silent Running. He says the Bajorans that attacked the outpost are a breakaway group, and while the Federation is sympathetic to the Bajorans' plight, they can't afford more tax. He tasks Picard to stop their leader, Orta, by promising to help their cause behind the scenes.
Kennelly assigns Picard a new ensign, a Bajoran named Ro Laren, and Picard is not happy about it because of her questionable history, which includes prison time.
After what happened on Garan 2, she has no business serving on any starship, let alone the flagship, my ship.
He's not the only one who feels that way, and she doesn't even want to be there.
As soon as she beams aboard, Riker aggressively forces her to take off her dumb earrings. Ensign Ro is played by Michelle Forbes, who we've of course seen before in the game Half-Life 2, and she was also in the episode Half-a-Life. Picard mistakenly addresses her by her first name, and they act like putting the family name first is some kind of alien concept, even though lots of cultures on Earth do that now.
They reach the Bajoran settlements and want to set up a meeting with one of the leaders, but Ro says they're wasting their time and directs them to who they should be meeting with.
When they head down to meet with him, he offers to show them around his camp, but when they start walking, for some reason Data and Worf just kind of disappear before showing up again later.
He tells Picard he won't help him find Orta because their past struggles were internal and the Federation didn't get involved. But Picard relays Kennelly's directives that the Federation will get involved now if they help them.
I like how when Picard explains that the Cardassian attacks occurred within Cardassian territory, he uses a tone that suggests it should be a perfectly agreeable explanation for why they didn't get involved.
We were saddened by those events, but they occurred within the designated borders of the Cardassian Empire.
He points out that one terrorist attack has suddenly caused the Federation to try to do something about it.
We should have attacked the Federation long ago.
Which reminded me of the High Ground, where Professor Terrorist made the same exact point.
When Picard tells him about the Federation's plan to use diplomacy, he sums things up by saying,
"We live in different universes, you and I. Yours is about diplomacy, politics, strategy. Mine is about blankets."
And Picard completely misses the point and takes his comment literally and asks Data to use the replicator to make blankets for everyone. What a good diplomat.
Back on the ship, Geordi is talking to Guinan about Ro the same way he talked about Barclay a while back, about how he feels like she doesn't belong there.
Guinan decides Ro would make more interesting company, so she leaves Geordi alone and directly confronts Ro about all the rumors about her.
And she manages to get her to open up a little bit.
I thought it was a really good interaction, although Ro's warming up to Guinan was a little too quick.
Ro gets called away because she's getting a transmission from Kennelly and says everything is going according to plan.
Thankfully, it was not as goofily ominous as the secret communication scene with Tasha's sister in Legacy.
The crew is getting ready to beam down to meet with Orta and find out that Ro beamed down hours ago by herself.
Picard says they're going to beam down to the same spot. They say that their sensors can't pick things up beneath the moon's surface, but the transporter seems to have no problems. And just like the kind of intelligent people you want on a mission like this, they immediately separate and get captured by Orta's forces.
Orta says Picard might be a pawn in someone else's plan because the Bajoran were not responsible for the attack on the Federation outpost.
When they head back to the Enterprise, Picard restricts Ro to quarters for heading down without permission.
Guinan visits her again,
and Ro tells her she feels that she doesn't have any control over anything that happens to her, and Guinan convinces her to talk to Picard.
She tells Picard all the facts of the situation, how she's working with Kennelly behind the scenes,
and that they were supposed to offer Orta weapons to use against the Cardassians in exchange for the Bajorans ending their terrorist attacks.
Ro reveals some of her history and experience with the Cardassians and says she doesn't want to be ashamed of who she is anymore. Kennelly's mission gave her the chance to help her people, but the only part that confuses her is Orta claiming that the Bajoran weren't responsible for the attack. Picard decides to unravel the conspiracy by pretending to do what Kennelly wants him to do and tells him orders on a ship leaving the planet.
And he asks Kennelly how his Cardassian cold is going, which this time actually did make me wonder if there was something else to it. As they escort the Bajoran ship, 2 Cardassian warships approach.
They demand that the Enterprise withdraw so they can destroy the ship, and Kennelly says they have to protect the treaty at any cost and orders Picard to back off.
And the Cardassian on screen had a distractingly weird-shaped head.
Glad you're keeping your focus where it needs to be.
Yeah, I couldn't stop tracing the outline. It was like, this isn't a head. Picard directly confronts Kennelly and says he believes their actual goal was to expose Orta's location so the Cardassians could destroy him and remove a problem for both of them.
And when the Cardassians destroy Orta's ship, Picard reveals there weren't actually any people on board. And Orta did not attack the Federation outpost, it was probably the Cardassians. Picard's very simple logic made sense, and it was kind of stupid that Kennelly would not come to the same conclusion.
Orta's ships are old and obsolete. They don't even have warp capabilities. They couldn't have reached another star system.
Yeah, for most of this episode, I wasn't sure if Kennelly was working with the Cardassians, or if he just was kind of blindly accepting things.
Turns out he was an idiot.
And Picard mentions the virus again, but I still don't know what that was about, or how it was important.
I think it was supposed to make it more obvious, but it was completely unnecessary.
And Kennelly keeps making the same arrogant face the whole time, even after everything is in the open.
Later, Picard asks Ro to stay and serve on the ship.
I think you've got a great deal to learn from Starfleet.
I always thought Starfleet had a lot to learn from me, Captain.
And she agrees. So now they're really good friends. That's nice.
But she has one condition. She has to be allowed to wear her dumb earrings.
Ensign Ro. Overall?
I'm finding that the best episodes of this show tend to be the ones dealing with the intricacies of the relationships between different races, at least when the episode doesn't focus on a one-off race that involves some gimmick for the story to hinge on. The characters tend to act far less stupid in these episodes, the plots make more sense and move along more logically, with less fake science bullshit, and they usually don't have a lame, underdeveloped B-plot. Ensign Ro was a really interesting character. I do know she comes back later, which is good. There were a few dumb little details that you're just supposed to look past, which is unfortunately normal for this show. But other than that, my only complaint was that once you're supposed to be suspicious of Kennelly, he acts like a blatant villain, like most of the villains in this show. Anyway, I gave this episode an A-.
I give it a B. It's nice that we have a new regular character to shake things up. We've had Barclay and others in the past, but they felt like a single episode character. This episode gave Ro enough time and effort to seem like a more regular presence, and it's season 5. It was interesting they waited this long to do something like that. We'll see how it goes.
I will say, if I didn't already know that she comes back, I wouldn't have thought she was going to be a regular character.
That last scene really pushed it for me. Her attitude at the beginning was a little overplayed, but she toned it down. I found it really interesting to have Guinan be the main contact for her. It brings Guinan more into the main cast instead of a recurring side character, so I wonder if she'll be more regular now too. And after Picard figured out Kennelly's plan, I found it amusing that he seemed almost giddy to let things play out because he knew the secret. But yeah, overall I thought this was a very decent episode. There have been better ones, like the Drumhead. And some other episodes.